Welcome to Gaga Knits. My name's Anita and I live in South Wales in the UK, and you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Anita Bulb, and show notes as always will be in the description box below. I've actually got some finished objects to show you this week. I don't quite know how I managed it because I've been quite busy over the last few weekends. We've had Harry to stay this last weekend, so we did lots of crafting, but painting bird boxes and plant pots and colouring and different things like that. And the weekend before, we had Christmas #2. My brother and his family live in America, and they invited my dad and stepmum over for Christmas this year. So we arranged that when Dad and Lorraine came home, we would have another Christmas celebration, and they'd come over and we'd have Christmas dinner again and some presents and crackers. And I have to say, it is so much cheaper to do Christmas in January than it is in December. Please excuse the scruffy top today, but I'm going to take Charlie for a walk after this. It's a lovely sunny day here in Wales, but very cold and icy. So I've got a nice snuggly sweatshirt on so that we can go out into the woods and have a nice walk. Maybe if Charlie's feeling up to it, I might put a few photos at the end of this video just to show you how nice Wales looks in the winter, but we shall see. So let's get stuck in and start with knitting. I have two finished objects. One you didn't know anything about because it was a test knit and I have been told I'm allowed to show to you. And the other is Josh's socks, actually finished. The pattern, actual patterning on the sock is the Spanglish sock pattern, but I knit them toe up, two at a time, and I didn't do an afterthought heel, but I did the toe up heel from the tutorial that Ellie shows you on Crafthouse Magic. So I'm really pleased with those. He has been trying them on as I've been knitting them, but he's not allowed to have them until I've shown them on here. He's chosen yellow because it's his favourite colour. I have this much left of two 50-gram balls, so quite a lot left, and I did 64 stitches, and I used my trusty sock template. Everyone should have one of these for each member of their family, so you can knit their socks even when they're not around. And what else? I'm trying to think of everything. I have, last episode I told you a little bit about the socks, and also on my Ravelry page I've got more details if there's anything you wanted to know about those. And the yarn I used was this Truly Wool Rich by Cygnet, and the colourway is 2041, which is, you might have guessed, yellow. Josh wants to use these when he goes out on his mountain bike. A lot of work for mountain bike socks, but I'm just grateful that he wants me to make him things. I also made him a bike top. That was pattern Simplicity 8613. That was sewing, obviously not knitting, for cycling. And I'll put a picture in here because I asked him to take a photo of him wearing it so that I could show you, because I did show you many episodes ago now the finished top, but he's actually worn it and he said it's quite nice, although he would like me to do something a little bit different with the neck. I think it was a little bit high. It was V-neck, but he found it a little bit high. So if I make him another one, I shall adjust that. So these are his socks finished. I started them in August, so it's a bit of embarrassing really, but I can now enter them in Bumble Stitches Cowl, which is #CrackTheWhipCowl, which runs from the beginning of January to the end of February, and it's a way to encourage you to finish your languishing whips. And this was one because I started it in August, and now they are finished, and I have entered them into Nicola's Knit Along. So I'm going quite well with my alongs, getting things finished and using up yarn that I already have. So that was my finished object number 1. Finished object number 2 is the Coniferous Hat, and my head, polystyrene head, is very small, and although these hats cover it, it's because the head is very small. So this is called the Coniferous Hat, and it's by Ellie from Tyddyn Bryn, and it's the test knit that she asked me to do, and you knitted in DK yarn, and the recommended needle size are 3¼ millimetre and 4, which are the normal size needles for double knit, and I got gauge with those straight away. I always like the way the decreases look on a hat. It's so symmetrical. Just pretty, I like that. And the little pattern on the side is meant to represent trees, conifer trees, but unfortunately I used Alpaca DK by Stylecraft because it's yarn I've already got. It's the yarn that I plan to make my crochet beret with, but it doesn't show the pattern very well. I'll put it on and show you. So there it is, but it doesn't show the pattern very well, and I have passed that on to Ellie, my comments on to Ellie about the pattern, and she's going to make sure she says that you should use a yarn that gives a good stitch definition, because although this is lovely and warm and snuggly, it doesn't show the pattern up to the best effect, which is a shame because you put the effort in to follow a chart, and it was a very simple chart to follow and a very easy pattern to knit, but it's a shame then when you can't really see the work that's gone into it. But I'm going to wear this. I might even wear it today to walk Charlie, and I'm not sure when the pattern will be released, but when it is I shall let you know. So they are my 2 finished objects. I have been working on my branches and buds pullover. I was hoping to finish it by today to show you, and I've been knitting round and round on the sleeve, but I just couldn't get it done in time. But I'm nearly there. So here it is. It's got one whole sleeve, and the other sleeve is, I think I'm about 26 stitches. Oh, sorry, the sun is in my eyes. About 26 rows from the end of the actual sleeve, and then I can start on the cuff, and then I finished. So by next time I should have finished it. I was hoping to be wearing it today. I was hoping to be sat here wearing this, but unfortunately not quite. But definitely next time, and that will be another finished project. And also a slight apology, a little bit of a confession. When I laid all the yarn out on the bed, I forgot some of the yarn that I put in a project bag. I've shown this project bag before. It's a beautiful Christmas project bag by Eva of Cocoa and Flora podcast, and I had bought 2 skeins of this beautiful yarn, the Vintage Christmas Tree colourway by Ellie of Tyddyn Bryn, the one who also, she dyes yarn and she also designs knitting patterns, so a very clever lady. So I bought this to make the cardigan, this cardigan, where there's another confession, Audrey in Unst. Now I said when I showed you this before that it was by Andy Sutherland, but it isn't. It's by Gudrun Johnson and Gudrun Johnston. So I am still hoping to make that cardigan, but I forgot to add this yarn to my stash. So this will be going, I've put all my projects that I'm planning to use out of stash on my bookshelf, on a shelf. They've got a shelf to themselves. So this will be going on there to add to that. The only thing I'm a tiny bit worried about, because it does say, I think for my size, I have to use 900 yards. Is it 900 yards? 900 yards of yarn, and these come in, this is 437, so 874, not 900, but I'm thinking that I probably looked on the Ravelry page for the pattern, because I usually look them up, and I think perhaps other people have said that they've used less yarn, so that's the only reason I can think of why I bought less yarn than the pattern calls for. So I'm hoping I'll have enough, because it's a bit disappointing if I haven't. I'm not sure if Ellie will have any more of this in her Etsy shop, because it isn't Christmas anymore, but hopefully I will have enough. So that's a project to go on my shelf. That's all the knitting I've got on the go at the moment, but obviously I finished the socks and I need something else. And it's really great having my shelf and being organised with these patterns and projects, because once I've finished a project or I'm coming near to the end, I just look on the shelf and think, what should I do next? And I know I've got the pattern and the yarn all matched up together, so I can just take something off. I should really put the needles in, but I don't think I've probably got enough needles to put them in each project. So I know I've got all the different size needles I need, but not enough to have specific needles in every project bag. So anyway, I looked on my shelf and I have decided my next project will be making the cowl with this lovely soft yarn, the Sirdar Alpine Luxe Fur Effect yarn, and I'm going to make the cowl with that because that should be done very quickly, and it is getting a little bit cold and we have been promised snow, so I want it for then. So I'll just cast that one on because I really want to finish that sleeve and then maybe skein up some more yarn to start one of the other projects. I don't want to start that cardigan, the Unst, because I want to do my flax first because it's more wintry, so it makes more sense to do that. Let's move on to crochet. At the moment, right, I'm trying to be organised and I'm looking everywhere because I've lost it already. Here it is. At the moment, the only crochet project I've got on the go is my granny stripe blanket, and I don't know if I've particularly done any more than when I showed it last. I'm using a magic ball, which is somewhat diminished, so I need to add some yarn to that, and I'm going to use my minis, the leftovers from the minis that I had when I made my Christmas bauble hat. So I'm going to put those in my little project bag now so I know where they are. And I didn't put those in earlier because I was making the little scarves and things for the doll's house people for their Christmas, so I wanted to use those first, and now I shall add them to my magic ball and crochet those into my blanket. That's an ongoing project, so that's just going to, every time I have 4-ply odds and ends, I put them in there. And I thought, as that's my only crochet project, I should have another one, as some of my projects have been completed now. I don't like too many projects on the go, but I like a choice of things, both knitting, crochet and sewing and cross stitch, just depending what mood I'm in, how much time I've got, how much brain power I've got as to what I'm going to do. My next crochet project is going to be the crocheted beret that I showed you in my along plans. and I lost the page, and then I stuck my post-it note back in it, and I've lost it again. Where's that gone? That was the collar somewhere. Where's the hat? Oh, there it is, and the post-it note's still in there. So that was the hat. That's the beret that I'm hoping to make, and I'm using all the Stylecraft DK alpaca yarn. So the hat, the Coniferous hat, was made in the Stylecraft DK alpaca in olive, in the olive colourway. So I've added that back to my bag of yarns because I have plenty enough left over from that, and plenty enough of all of these to make that beret and something else. So I'm going to start that as a new crochet project. So hopefully I'll have made quite a bit of progress on it, if not finished it by next time. I'm surrounded here by all my projects. Sewing, my bag from hell. It's coming on. It is a bag. Here it is. I've almost finished it. Obviously, I went wrong when I did the pocket flaps, and there are no pockets because I sewed it up incorrectly. And I've done the lining. It would have been nice to have had some pockets in the lining like you do in project bags, but probably because they thought you were going to be having these, you wouldn't need them. And I have got side pockets. On the pattern it told you to use this bias binding. Well, it wasn't bias binding, it was a strip of fabric that you had to make into bias binding to do the edges of these pockets. But I decided when I made this section, and you had to cut some off, that I would use that instead to do the binding there to add a bit more colour. And then you had to sew the leftover scraps to make the handle, and then you had to put the handle onto the bag. But the bag here was much wider than the strap, so I've had to, on this side, sew these pieces closely together. So the front is a bit hard to show, the front and the back. And then on the outside I had to make a pleat just to bring this section in enough, and I had to hand stitch it because I broke a sewing machine needle trying to get through all this fabric, and I bent pins, and they were quilting pins, so I think they're meant to be stronger, but they bent. And in the end I used a very technical tool, the top of a tin and a sewing needle, and I had to force the needle through all the layers of fabric to just sew the handles on. But even though I tried to make it quite neat, and you can't really see it, it is a bit of a botched job. So I have got some of the corduroy fabric leftovers here, and I'm going to make my own bias binding, or not bias, just binding out of this. And I'm going to, if I can show you, I'm just going to sew that then, once I've made it, around the straps so that you can't see the untidiness because it would annoy me. And then I've got a bag. I do like it. I love the colours and I think it's really pretty. And once I'm using it, no doubt I'll forget the pain it caused me, the pain and suffering that went along with making that bag. And then once I finished it, I can enter this into Zoe from Pins and Needles Along, which is called the Newfangled Make Along. When I finished the bag, I won't have any sewing projects left, and I thought, as laying all my yarn out on the bed and deciding what projects to make with it was so successful, I might do a similar thing for my sewing I have a big old-fashioned blanket box that belonged to my grandma, and it is stuffed full of fabric, and I haven't been sewing for that long, but like with the yarn, I see someone make something, or I see some fabric online and think, oh, that's so nice, I'm going to make a dress, or I have got quite a few patterns that I think I'm going to make, and sewing takes a lot more time. Well, it doesn't take a lot more time than knitting, but it takes a lot more concentrated time. You have to have a few hours free where you can sit at your sewing machine and sew, obviously, and I don't always get that, so I'm going to break it down into little sections so that I maybe trace out the pattern one day and cut out the fabric another, do it in sections so that I do get more sewing done. But anyway, I'm going to lay out all my fabrics on the bed and decide what I've got and look at the patterns I've got and put them together as projects for 2019 and work on those. I'm going to try not to buy any fabric either this year. I might buy some jersey because I don't have much jersey, and I quite like jersey dresses and tops, because I know some people worry about sewing jersey, but I don't seem to have a problem with that, and the fit is so much easier to get right with jersey, so I might succumb and buy a little bit of that. But I'm going to try not to. I'm going to try and be good this year. I have been doing a little bit of cross stitch. Now, where have I put my cross stitch? Here it is. It is in a Christmas project bag because I started it at Christmas. I have finished a tiny little cross stitch just to get me back into cross stitching, and it was a little kit from Hobbycraft, and here he is, a little sheep with a bobble hat and scarf. I don't think he just has to be for Christmas, so I'm going to get a little picture frame where you have the mount inside has a small opening and then quite a large mount and then a frame, so he isn't a tiny little cross stitch on the wall, he'll be in a much bigger frame, and I will have to get that sorted. And I've done a little bit of work on my nag cross stitch, which is that. I don't nag personally. I call it gentle repetitive reminding, not nagging. If you had met Martin, you would understand why I have to do gentle repetitive reminding. Otherwise we never get anything done. So that's as far as I've got so far. This little bit up here is a horse's face. You can't tell right now, but I've been using my lamp with the magnified mirror and the light, and it's absolutely brilliant for that. And it also, sometimes if I can't thread a needle, like for example when I was hand sewing that bag, I would use my lamp just to thread the needle, because these are old eyes. Although I have been for an eye test, I'm having new glasses. These glasses, I think, were £2 in Home Bargains. No, sorry, these glasses were £1 in the Primark sale. But I do have ones that are £2 from Home Bargains, because why not? So that's all my cross stitch. I've lost my notes. My notes fell down. Let's have a look. So that's cross stitch. What else did I want to say? Well, I nearly forgot. So today is Monday the 28th of January. Tomorrow, therefore, is Tuesday the 29th of January. Might not mean anything to you, but to me, it's my brother's birthday. So happy birthday, Steve. And like I said at the beginning of the episode, my brother and his family live in America. They've lived in America for, gosh, I don't know now, 15 years maybe. So we don't see a lot of each other, although we do Skype and we do comment on each other's pictures on Instagram and things like that. Thank goodness for Skype, because I would miss them so much more if I couldn't speak to them and see them face to face. But anyway, it's his birthday tomorrow and I want to wish him a very happy birthday. And Harry and I have put together a little birthday wish for him. And it's nothing to do with crafting, so I'm sorry if you don't like it, but it's just a little bit of fun to wish my brother a happy birthday.
Birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday dear Steve, happy birthday to you. Hip hip hooray, hip hip hooray! Pen by happy city, pen by happy Steve, pen by happy city. Yay, yay!
That's about it this week, I think. I have got a lot to be getting on with and I think I've got quite a bit done. I am hoping to podcast now probably at the end of February, the last Monday in February if I can. Please subscribe and hit the little bell to be notified of when I will be next recording. Thank you so much for watching and thank you everyone who does leave comments for me. It's really encouraging. It seems no matter how many times I do these, I still get really nervous and you're all very kind. So thank you very much. If I can, I might insert some photos of my walk with Charlie here. Have a very nice couple of weeks until I speak to you again. Take care and I'll see you soon. Bye.